Jessica Simpson was never taken seriously in fashion. She was the blonde punchline, the pop star with platform heels and a southern drawl. But while critics laughed, she built one of the most profitable celebrity fashion brands in history. At its peak, the Jessica Simpson Collection was pulling in over $1 billion a year, stocked in Macy's, Dillard's, and hundreds of department stores across the US. And then, almost without warning, it collapsed. Licensing deals vanished, retail partners crumbled. Simpson's billion-dollar empire was suddenly worth a fraction of its former value. And in the middle of it all, she lost the rights to her own name. So what happened? How did a brand that understood American women better than the critics ever did lose its place in the market? And now that Jessica Simpson has bought it back and is quietly laying the groundwork for a comeback, the question is, can a brand that was once everywhere matter again? When Jessica Simpson announced her fashion line in 2005, no one expected much. Celebrity brands were everywhere, and most of them flopped. They were cash grabs, perfume deals, or one-season wonders at best. Simpson wasn't a designer. She wasn't a model. And, in the eyes of the media, she wasn't exactly a tastemaker either. But that was exactly the point. While high fashion mocked her for being too commercial, Simpson and her mother Tina quietly built a brand that embraced the mainstream. They didn't chase trends. They chased the customer. Instead of targeting stylists or magazine editors, they looked at what real women actually wanted. Cute heels, flattering jeans, wearable dresses, all at department store prices. It was mall fashion with mass appeal, and it worked.
I wanted to celebrate every woman at every size. I've been a size 2 up to a 14. I wanted women to know that, being perfect is not fun.
Behind the scenes, the strategy was smart. The Simpsons didn't manufacture the clothes themselves. They licensed Jessica's name to a company called Camuto Group, led by Vince Camuto, co-founder of Nine West. That deal gave them access to factories, distribution, and serious retail relationships, while allowing Jessica to focus on branding and public presence. It also gave the brand massive reach right out of the gate. And as the brand grew, so did the web of partners. Jessica's name was licensed to different companies for different product lines: shoes, bags, dresses, even home goods, each one responsible for design, production, and distribution in their category. That model made it possible for her collection to scale fast, dominate shelf space, and stay visible across multiple price points. By 2008, just 3 years after launch, the Jessica Simpson Collection had expanded into over 20 product categories, from shoes to handbags, fragrances to denim. It was stocked in major department stores like Macy's, Lord & Taylor, and Dillard's, and it kept growing. The line wasn't edgy, it wasn't luxury, but it was consistent and consistently profitable. And the public, they loved it. Jessica Simpson wasn't trying to be Anna Wintour. She was relatable, approachable, and always smiling in the ads. She wasn't the fashion elite. She was the girl next door who won. Women saw themselves in her, and that sense of connection translated into sales. For once, a celebrity brand wasn't selling a fantasy. It was selling clothes people actually wanted to wear. By 2010, the numbers spoke for themselves. Over $750 million in annual sales. And they kept climbing. Jessica Simpson, the woman critics never took seriously, had become one of the most successful celebrity brand founders in American retail history. But while everything looked effortless from the outside, the cracks were already forming. The Jessica Simpson Collection had officially become a billion-dollar empire. But behind that massive success was a structure that wasn't built to last. The licensing model that made the brand so big was starting to stretch thin. And when retail started shifting in the late 2010s, that model became harder to sustain. The turning point came in 2015, when the brand was acquired by Sequential Brands Group. a public company that specialized in acquiring fashion labels and monetizing them through licensing. For Jessica, it seemed like a win. She retained a minority stake, gained a huge valuation, and the brand now had corporate muscle behind it. But Sequential didn't have the same vision that Tina and Jessica had started with. They weren't trying to connect with the customer. They were trying to squeeze as much revenue as possible from the name. That meant more categories, more products, more deals. At its peak, the Jessica Simpson Collection stretched across 30-plus licensing agreements, covering everything from shoes and dresses to bedding, eyewear, luggage, maternity wear, even hair extensions. Some of it still resonated, but a lot of it didn't. The core appeal, flattering, affordable fashion that felt like Jessica, got diluted. The brand started to feel less like a personal expression and more like a stamp slapped on anything that could be sold in bulk. And there were deeper cracks forming too. Vince Camuto, the man who helped launch the brand and provided the entire infrastructure behind its rise, passed away in early 2015. Camuto had been more than just a licensing partner. He was the bridge between Jessica's star power and the brutal mechanics of retail. After his death, that foundation wobbled. The Camuto Group remained involved, but the magic of their collaboration was gone. At the same time, department stores, the main distribution channel for the brand, were starting to unravel. Macy's was closing dozens of locations. Lord & Taylor, once a Jessica Simpson stronghold, was losing ground to online retailers. And as the retail landscape shifted, the collection's overdependence on brick and mortar became a weakness. Online, newer brands were eating up market share. Influencer labels, DTC brands, and fast fashion apps were dominating consumer attention. The Jessica Simpson brand, once everywhere, started to fade from view. Then came the financial unraveling. Sequential had overextended itself, not just with Jessica Simpson, but with its entire portfolio. It had acquired too many brands, taken on too much debt, and couldn't keep up with payments. By 2021, the company was in bankruptcy court. And in the middle of that collapse, Jessica Simpson lost the rights to her own name. It's hard to overstate how surreal that must have felt. The brand she had spent nearly 2 decades building, the one tied to her image, her values, her voice, no longer belonged to her. It had been packaged into an asset sale alongside other flailing brands, like it was just another name on a spreadsheet. But Jessica didn't walk away. Instead, she and her mother, Tina, placed a bet on themselves. In the middle of the pandemic, they fought to buy back full ownership, even as the industry questioned whether the brand still had any value at all. It would take over a year to finalize the deal. But in 2021, Jessica Simpson officially reclaimed her name. And suddenly, a new chapter was on the table. Not just a business turnaround, but a personal one. Rebuilding a fashion brand from scratch is hard enough. Rebuilding one that used to be everywhere and then vanished is even harder. But that's exactly what Jessica Simpson is trying to do. Since reclaiming her name in 2021, Jessica and Tina have been deliberately laying the groundwork for a comeback. They didn't rush out with a splashy rebrand. There was no buzzy collaboration, no sudden pivot to Gen Z. Instead, they did something far less trendy, but maybe far more effective. They went back to the formula that had worked in the first place. The new Jessica Simpson collection doesn't pretend to be something it's not. It's not trying to compete with Skims or become the next cult label. It's sticking to its roots. Dresses that flatter, shoes that sparkle, jeans that hug in the right places. The price points are still accessible, the silhouettes are still familiar, and the voice behind it all is still Jessica, cheerful, confident, and completely herself. But this time there's a sharper eye on product. The team has cut back on over-licensing, pulled focus back to apparel and footwear, and begun to rebuild relationships with retailers. They've made fit a priority again, especially for denim, the category that helped put the brand on the map in the first place. They've also taken feedback more seriously. Sizing charts have been expanded. Reviews are being monitored closely. And while the brand isn't reinventing fashion, it's definitely refining what it stands for. There's also a stronger sense of control this time around. Jessica is no longer the face of someone else's licensing portfolio. She and Tina now oversee everything: product development, marketing, partnerships, and it shows. Their in-house team has been reshaped. In late 2023, Jessica brought in former Target and Nordstrom merchandisers to lead product strategy, a move that signaled she was no longer just lending her name, but actively curating the line. Creative direction is more consistent, and even the campaigns, while still approachable, feel more intentional than before. The comeback hasn't happened overnight, but it's gaining momentum. The brand quietly returned to Macy's in 2023 after a brief absence, focusing on core categories like boots, jeans, and cocktail dresses. In 2024, it expanded its e-commerce operation, rebuilt the official website, and launched limited capsule collections with seasonal drops. They switched everything over to Shopify, which gave them way more control, faster uploads, easier drops, and a smoother mobile experience. No more waiting on department stores to catch up. Most of the new pieces went straight to fans through Jessica's Instagram and email list, cutting out the middlemen completely. And it worked. The buzz started building again, especially with women who remembered the brand from its heyday. Influencer packages went out, retro styles came back, and suddenly it felt like 2008 again, just with better denim and a smarter strategy. In an earlier interview, Jessica explained why the comeback feels different. When you lose your name, there's this feeling like you're not whole. Getting it back, that was emotional. But now I know every decision, every design, every word we put out, it's truly mine again. That sense of ownership, she said, made the brand stronger, not just financially, but emotionally. And now in 2025, the brand is doubling down. New collections have been teased for fall, featuring more structured tailoring and evening wear, a slight shift in tone, but still grounded in wearability. The team also began testing new distribution channels. A limited run of footwear and denim quietly launched on Amazon's premium fashion tier, a move aimed at reaching budget-conscious shoppers without compromising department store partnerships. At the same time, they partnered with Stitch Fix to pilot curated boxes based on body type and style preferences, leaning into personalization over trend chasing. Jessica herself remains front and center. Her latest campaign includes handwritten notes to customers, behind-the-scenes Instagram footage, and short interviews where she talks about motherhood, resilience, and rebuilding with purpose. It's personal, and it resonates. What's most interesting, though, is how little the brand is chasing trends. There's no viral stunt, no logo reinvention, no attempt to mimic the minimalist aesthetic dominating Instagram. If anything, the strategy is stubbornly off-trend. And that might be the smartest move of all. The Jessica Simpson Collection isn't trying to shock the fashion world. It's trying to meet the same woman it always did, just with a little more maturity and a lot more control. The comeback is still in motion, but piece by piece, the empire Jessica built is returning to the shelves. It's too early to say if Jessica Simpson's comeback will ever hit $1 billion again. The market's different now. The shelves are more crowded, and the name alone doesn't guarantee attention like it used to. But she's no longer building from scratch. She's rebuilding from something people still remember. So the real question isn't, can she bring the brand back? It's, would you wear it again? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.